Ladies and gentlemen, Happy New Year. Thank you for watching this channel. I hope you watched my last two segments, the first two segments of 2020 on this channel, and also H.A. Goodman's other channel. That's a great segment regarding Hunter Biden and the $83,000 per month and around $3.4 million he received. That'll be below, actually, in the pinned comment. Get that segment on H.A. Goodman's other channel viral. This is really interesting. I didn't want to do this, but I have to. I wish everyone that 2020 is the best year of their lives. I don't wish, even though I don't like Adam Schiff or Pelosi or Nadler or certainly not Debbie Wasserman Schultz, certainly not Clinton, I don't wish her the worst year of her life. She's going to lose to Trump. It's going to be Clinton 2020. I don't wish anyone the worst year of their lives. This is the Los Angeles Times. Opinion, 2020 will be the worst year of Trump's life. This is by the same gentleman, by the way, and I'm saying this with all due respect. He's a professor of history emeritus at UC Irvine and a contributing editor of The Nation. The Nation, you know, in 2016, this is, okay, so one of the gentlemen at The Nation doesn't like me too much, uses my name to disparage others, whatever. It really doesn't matter. That article, that segment is below. It's a defense of my work and who I am. All of my writing in The Hill, The Huffington Post, and Salon, Cleveland Plain Dealer, all went through editors. So everything I wrote in 2016, accurately predicting the 2015, accurately predicting the 2016 election, went through editors where they read my writing, gave it a stamp of approval, and published the articles. The Huffington Post did not allow me to self-publish the articles. They actually, all my writing on Bernie Sanders, and even before Bernie Sanders, went through editors, okay? And I've explained that before. So all of the editors published stamp of approval my writing. Okay. The Nation actively boosted and supported Clinton. So while I'm a Trump supporter now, he's a great president objectively. Poverty has decreased from 12.7% to 11.3%. Record low black and Latino unemployment. These are facts. Record low national unemployment. These are facts. Yeah, are there issues with North Korea now? Sure. But he's the first president to step foot in North Korea, the first president to begin détente. This is something missing from the gleeful schadenfreude on the left of anything bad that happens. But he's objectively a great president. You have record highs in the stock market, record lows in unemployment, poverty decreasing. We can go on and on. 300,000 manufacturing jobs plus created, 300,000 lost under 8 years of President Obama. President Obama, with a failed NATO intervention, destroying Libya, drinking Flint water when it was still poisonous. But here, this is the same gentleman who wrote Relax, Trump Can't Win in 2016, while in 2015, NPR was quoting me. Okay. Now, quoting me saying that, and I know I had to give you this disclaimer, but NPR was quoting me saying that Clinton couldn't win. She would be unelectable, and she was unelectable in swing states. That's below in the pinned comment. Why am I giving you this disclaimer? A year ago for this newspaper, I wrote a headline, 2019 will be the worst year of Trump's life. Okay, so this gentleman has a history of saying 2019 is the worst year of Trump's life. 2020 will be the worst year of Trump's life. This is the mentality of all Democrats. It's not just this gentleman. It's the mentality of all Democrats. 2019 was the best year of Trump's life. We have record low unemployment. We have record highs in the stock market. These are facts. We have poverty decreasing. Poverty decreasing for black and Latino citizens. For Latino citizens, the biggest drop in poverty from over 19% to over 17%. Around a 2-point drop in poverty. We need to get it to zero poverty, obviously. But it's better than President Obama's administration. Better. NPR had an article. Is it Obama's fault poverty is rising? That was in 2015. But anyway, lately I've been feeling a bit smug about my prescience. Smug? He doesn't care about impeachment. That's a joke. Everyone laughs at that. swing state voters, independent voters, the people that Democrats have to win over, do not want impeachment, do not want removal, and side with Trump more so than with Democrats. But here, a wiser man might retire from the prognostication game on that high note. What high note? This is the best economy in the past 16 years. Wages are rising finally. But instead, I'm going to double down with a new prediction. 2020 will be the worst year of Trump's life. Why? Why? Because Democrats are in a frenzy, as always? Because Democrats believe that, well, they're going to investigate Trump and they run the narrative. And because MSNBC, CNN, The Washington Post, The New York Times, Hollywood, all of these people, industries are going to try to... corrupt intelligence officials, they're all going to try to disparage Trump. So that means after 3 years, the Muller probe, and I quote, the Muller probe states, second, the Muller report, second, while the investigations identified numerous links between individuals with ties to the Russian government and individuals associated with the Trump campaign, the evidence was not sufficient to support criminal charges. Among other things, the evidence was not sufficient to charge any campaign official as an unregistered agent of the Russian government or the Russian principal. And our evidence about the June 9, 2016 meeting and release of hacked material was not sufficient to charge a criminal campaign finance violation. Further, the evidence was not sufficient to charge that any member of the Trump campaign conspired with representatives of the Russian government to interfere in the 2016 election. Not sufficient. The evidence was not sufficient to support criminal charges. The evidence was not sufficient to charge any campaign official. The evidence was not sufficient to support criminal campaign finance violations. The evidence was not sufficient to charge any member of Trump campaign for conspiring with representatives of the Russian government. It didn't happen. So tell me again how 2018 was one of the worst years in Trump's life. I mean, this says more about them than it does about Trump. This is not just the opinion and viewpoint of the author here, who happens to be a professor for the Los Angeles Times and a contributor to The Nation. The reason I did that whole spiel, 3-minute spiel, because there are people at The Nation who have tried to disparage me before, even though they're the ones who pushed for Clinton and tried to cover up the fact that Bernie Sanders was cheated, actively cover up the fact. Okay? Then they go after Trump with the same nonsense that they turned a blind eye towards regarding Bernie. Bernie Sanders promoted the same myth that Comey, Strzok, McCabe, Clapper, Brennan, that Trump worked with Russia. I just read to you the Mueller probe that happened, this year. The Mueller Report was written this year, completely exonerating Trump. And if they say, well, it didn't exonerate Trump, then where are the criminal charges? It's not like with Clinton and Comey, who covered up her actual crimes. They fabricated crimes, couldn't find anything that was illegal, and then they said, well, they moved the goalpost. He was eager to accept help from Russia. He was eager. The intelligence community doesn't even know, can't even state with accuracy if the DNC emails were even hacked. Regarding the ODNI report that talks about the DNC emails being hacked and Russia potentially working to help Trump, this is their high-confidence judgments. Quote, judgments are not intended to imply we have proof that shows something to be a fact. Assessments are based on collected information, which is often incomplete and fragmentary. High confidence generally indicates that judgments are based on high-quality information from multiple sources. High confidence in a judgment does not imply the assessment is a fact or a certainty. Such judgments might be wrong. God bless President Trump for going after the same insidious, nefarious, deceitful people who wrote and utilized. So the intel chiefs wrote that, well, Clapper did, regarding all the information from Comey and Brennan, and then all the corrupt and duplicitous and disingenuous journalists, like even one in particular. Well, I don't want to get into it, but you have people who were integral. You have people who were integral in spreading the dossier, and that was, you have people at all different publications, all different news stations, liberal cable stations. So whether it's a journalist at Mother Jones who literally, allegedly if you believe actually what Wall Street Journal articles on, and I think that he even alluded to this, worked alongside certain FBI officials to spread a fake dossier purchased by Clinton, or you have liberal progressive publications spreading the myth that Trump worked with Russia because of a dossier, because of the intel community, because of this. This is the same intel community that got us into Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld's never-ending quagmires, and we see the repercussions today. These are this when something happens, by the way, in an embassy in a country that I don't even want to say the name just because whatever. YouTube policies, you don't know, all this stuff. I don't want to get too into it, but you know what's taking place. We should never have been there. We should never have been there. And Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld got us there because of the failed intelligence and because of the corrupt and one can only assume deliberately manipulative and deceitful intelligence that they just call an intelligence failure. That the nation and people at the nation say, well, Bush, he lied and people perished. And then they say, oh, the intelligence community, Trump worked with Russia. We know this. How? Because judgments are not intended to imply we have proof that shows something to be a fact. Assessments are based on collected information, which is often incomplete or fragmentary. This is the actual ODNI report I'm reading you verbatim. High confidence generally indicates that judgments are based on high-quality information from multiple sources. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the evidence they used to support that Trump worked with Russia or that Russia tried to interfere on behalf of Trump. They're highly confident on that, or that Russia attacked the DNC. High confidence in a judgment does not imply that the assessment is a fact or a certainty. Such judgments might be wrong. All of this is in the description section. All of this is in the description section of this. Of all my YouTube segments. So then you have, what else does this gentleman say? The coming year presents many more uncertainties. This year's election, of course, and the Democrats aren't seen as having a surefire winner. Yeah, it's all going to vote. They're all going to vote for Clinton in 2020. I'll be right about this again. And this gentleman will not be right. Relax, Trump can't win. The mentality of Democrats is they said, well, relax, Trump can't win. But then they also said 2020 will be the worst year of Trump's life. And then the beginning paragraph is oh, well, lately I've been feeling a bit smug about my prescience. What? He's having objectively a great... There's going to be Trump supporters who will catapult President Trump to victory again, over Clinton again. The Democratic Party will be obliterated. And even if you don't believe my prediction, which I was right about in 2015, even NPR quoted me, let's just say you're delusional enough to think that Biden's going to be nominee. That would be a landslide, epic proportions, okay? How many I'm with her shirts or I'm with her hats do you see people wearing? And they have nobody else because they already cheated Bernie Sanders, and Bernie Sanders wouldn't even win if he was nominee, and I would vote, if it was Bernie versus Trump, I'm voting Trump 100 out of 100 times, 100%. I'm not going to vote for anyone that pushes a Cold War, a McCarthy-era myth that's already been debunked by the people who pushed the myth in the Muller Report that I read. But then they're saying, oh, well, he tried to push the Ukraine. And this is 538. Again, this is below in my description section. Democrats' case against Trump, on the other hand, doesn't have one key piece of evidence directly linking Trump to a quid pro quo. And that's an article, Do Democrats Have Enough Smoking Gun Evidence for Impeachment? 538, December 2nd, 2019. Then Associated Press, yet the witnesses' accounts left one prominent hole that offered a lifeline for Trump and his GOP allies. None of the witnesses could personally attest that Trump directly conditioned the release of $400 million in military aid on a Ukrainian announcement of investigations in the former Vice President Joe Biden and Democratic National Committee. None of the witness accounts left. So none of the witnesses could personally attest. Of course, there's no key piece of evidence. There's no direct evidence. That's the point. So the article goes on to say, despite being the most powerful figure in America the last 3 years, Trump hasn't done anything to expand his base. Oh, yes, he has. This is the Democrat. Okay, independents and swing state voters don't want impeachment. That alone should be enough. Also, you have record low unemployment. There are articles where there are polls that show increasing support among Black and Latino communities, increasing support among Black and Latino citizens. So I mean, like, how do you get? This is a professor who says Trump hasn't done anything to expand his base, and Democrats have. The starting point for 2020 is the fact Democratic base is considerably larger than the Republican base. So what? Almost half of all registered voters say they are certain. Okay, here's so. Then you get these like little subgroups in polling. Like, is it ridiculous? Almost half of registered voters say they are certain they will vote against Trump, while only a third say they are certain they will vote for him. Who cares? That's not. This is why I was right in 2015, and 538 stated, "Oh yeah, our emphatic prediction is Trump won't be GOP nominee," and this professor said Trump won't be GOP nominee. Do you realize that when in that poll, that type of poll, there are people who say, "Are you certain? Are you somewhat certain? Are you ambivalent? Do you know yet?" And then that is irrelevant whether you're certain a year before the election. It's irrelevant. Also, it doesn't correspond to voter turnout. These are polls these are subset of polls that are completely meaningless. So over half of all registered voters say they are certain they will vote against Trump. Well, you're polling from people a year out who perhaps also voted that to put Trump as the most admired man according to Gallup with Obama, tied with Obama. So how does this professor say that, well, he doesn't expand his base, he just tied President Obama, he's a 45% approval rating, and that's, in context, unbelievable, a fantastic achievement, because every single day you have people wishing that Trump has the worst year, God forbid, of his life. The Democratic strategist and pollster Stan Greenberg has a whole book about why Trump will lose. Well, that won't age well, that book. The Democratic, all you have to know is the Democratic strategist and pollster, and leave it at that. With a great title, R.I.P. GOP, Mazel Tov. R.I.P. GOP. I don't care about the Republican Party. I care about Trump. I'm not voting for Trump because of the Republican Party, and certainly the Republicans are even less corrupt than the Democrats. The Republicans and Democrats, the political entities, can all go to you-know-where for all I care. I don't really care. I'm voting President Trump, as are a great many former progressives. So perhaps I was like one of the first, but I don't know, maybe there's no real word there's no meaning assigned to the word progressive. There are progressive, like 3-4 different factions. They all can't stand each other. They all have the utmost of contempt for one another. But anyway, I was the biggest Bernie Sanders booster on the internet, according to the Huffington Post, and the unofficial scribe of Sanders' most hardcore voters, according to the Washington Post. I'm now a Trump supporter. I'm not a Republican. I'm not affiliated with a political party anymore. But anyway, he asked voters in 2016 election day poll whether they could handle an unexpected expense of $500. A majority, okay, yeah, we get it. And people are now, household median income is up. So you look at poverty. This is a census. The national poverty rate in 2016 was 12.7%. And USA Today, all U.S. citizens in November 2019 is 11.3%. From 12.7% to 11.3%. Okay? The Washington Post has 11.8%, but still poverty is decreased. And I don't know why the Washington Post doesn't have 11.3%, because this is a USA Today article from the latest census. So, okay. Or I don't know from the latest census, but this is a USA Today article titled from November, the poverty rates for every group in the U.S. USA Today. Okay, so it's 11.3. So from 12.7%, poverty decreases. Household median income, by the way, increased. You can look at household median income increased for Black and Latino citizens, for citizens as a whole, as well, nationwide. So you have household median income increasing, you have poverty decreasing, you have unemployment at record lows, you have stock market at record highs, you have manufacturing jobs increasing under Trump, whereas they talk about manufacturing sector is contracting. Yeah, but there are still more jobs being given, people are still obtaining more jobs in manufacturing than they were under Trump. Oopsie. They try to continually just manipulate. Then you have, of course, Zelensky stating there was no quid pro quo. So tell me again, the impeachment is nonsense. He didn't work to interfere in the election because he's worried about Biden. Biden is the one who should be investigated for possibly firing a prosecutor that was looking into the corporation funneling millions into his son's bank accounts. Okay? If the tables were turned with Trump and Trump Jr., my God almighty. These same authors would be like, salivating. Give me your thoughts below. And then 2016 showed that we need to look beyond national polls and focus on the swing states. Yeah, exactly. Swing state voters, swing states are doing very well economically compared to the rest of the country. Well, actually, no. California is doing, the job market there is the best, here is the best ever. But there are two news is encouraging. In Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, since Trump took office, his net approval ratings, which started out at the plus side, have fallen disastrously. So what? His favorability ratings in Michigan in Pennsylvania isn't as bad as you'd think. Michigan and Wisconsin, yeah, but you know what? He's still going to get Florida. So he'll still get Florida and Ohio, and he gets one of Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, and he's good. He's set. Just look at 270 to win. But in Pennsylvania, they decreased by 17 points, Wisconsin by 20 points, Michigan by 22 points. Well, I'm talking about favorability ratings, maybe his approval rating. But the favorability ratings are a little bit different from approval ratings. The whole thing's nonsense anyway. These polls don't mean anything until a week before the election, and even less than a week before the election. And they all contract. The polls right now that show Biden even close to Trump, first of all, it's going to be Clinton versus Trump. But the polls that show are based on the onslaught, the media onslaught. Trump is basically running a race where the wins, there's basically a fan, like a giant fan right in front of him at all times. And there's a fan behind everyone else. There's wind on the back, propelling other people, and there's wind trying to push Trump back. And that those external factors are media and public relations spin against Trump, and he's still doing well. I mean, what political figure could be what? Most admired man, tied with President Obama just yesterday, the day before, according to Gallup. So he's the most admired man in 2019, according to Gallup, but he's not doing well in swing states. Got it. Okay, these polls are all over the place, and they're more a reflection of how Trump is able to overcome immense and profound media bias than they are about what's really happening. There are a lot more Trump supporters out there than the left would like to admit. A lot more. Okay. So anyway, give me your thoughts below. He'll win again. That's obvious. And I wrote in 2017, Clinton 2020 is a reality. Get ready for 8 years of Trump. The same person, I venture to say, the same gentleman, this professor of emeritus at UC Irvine, the same gentleman who wrote Relax, Trump Can't Win for the Nation, and who wrote 2 years in a row, 2019 will be the worst year of Trump's life, and then 2020 will be the worst year of Trump's life. God forbid. Okay, the pattern here is that the predictions aren't working out well. My predictions generally work out well, or Bernie Sanders is cheated, or her crimes are covered up by Comey. Otherwise, I told you the Muller probe would lead to nothing. I've been telling you they're impeaching Clinton. They're impeaching Trump based on nothing. And it's all going to be Clinton 2020. I told you, NPR quoted me that Clinton would lose. I said Clinton would lose the election in 2015, and she did. And NPR quoted me alongside Nate Silver. Anyway, give me your thoughts below. 2020, God forbid, God willing, will be the best year of Trump's life and the best year of your life. And it says something about Democrats when they want. And it's not just this gentleman's viewpoint. They have convinced themselves because they lost that Trump is a despot and he's a tyrant, and that he signed the First Step Act, and that he's presiding over a decrease in poverty, and that compared to he wants to remove Americans from regions of conflict. Yeah, we understand what just recently took place, but that's a repercussion of the Bush, Cheney, Rumsfeld, and President Obama foreign policies of intervention. Ask the people of Libya how they're doing if they really like President Obama. Give me your thoughts below. You have a scaled-back U.S. foreign policy with Trump, and you have the nation. Check this out, because the nation used to be like just the vanguard of like the most left-leaning political viewpoints. The nation, Mother Jones, Max Boot, and Bill Kristol voted for Clinton in 2016. Think about that. That might be the most important thing I've said. The nation, Mother Jones, what else? The New York Times, but the Nation and Mother Jones and other. The Nation used to be like, oh my God, the extreme left publication. They voted for the same candidate that Max Boot and Bill Kristol voted for, and that also Clapper and Brennan were pushing for, and Comey. Give me your thoughts below. How times have changed. How times have changed. God bless America. God bless President Trump. God bless you. I wish you only the best in 2020. And you know what? Let Adam Schiff and Nadler and let them have the best life, their best years ever. But let Trump, he will. Trump's toying with all of them. It's kind of hilarious. He's so good that he gets them to think they're winning when they're losing catastrophically. Give me your thoughts.